Music can be used to touch people and can invoke many emotions in one when they hear a certain song. These emotions can include happiness, thought, or sadness. However, sometimes music can invoke other feelings such as uneasiness or perhaps fear. Number 10. I Don't Like Mondays. In 1979, Irish new wave group The Boomtown Rats released their third studio album, The Fine Art of Surfacing. Included on the album was track 1 of side B, titled I Don't Like Mondays. The song was released in July of 1979 and quickly rose to the top of the UK singles chart. The song is rather catchy but takes a weirder turn at the hook, which has only 2 lines. I don't like Mondays, I want to shoot the whole day down. A seemingly innocent line about not liking a certain day of the week that takes a darker, more literal turn when we talk about Brenda Ann Spencer. Born on April 3, 1962, Brenda showed hints of intelligence early on, more specifically a talent for photography. Despite showing intelligence, she generally disliked school, constantly racking up truancies on her attendance. Growing up in poverty wasn't easy for her either. With her parents being separated, it put a lot of unnecessary stress on the young impressionable girl. She grew up with her father, Wallace Spencer, and the two had to sleep on a single mattress in the living room, with alcohol bottles strewn around the house. When Brenda was admitted into a facility for troubled students, she responded poorly to it. She had been arrested previously for shooting the windows out of the nearby Grover Cleveland Elementary School with her BB gun. For Christmas, her father gifted her a Ruger 1022 semi-automatic .22 caliber rifle with a telescopic sight and 500 rounds of live ammunition. When asked about it later, Spencer said, "I asked for a radio and he brought me a gun. I felt like he wanted me to kill myself." Unfortunately, it wouldn't be long before Brenda would try out her new gift. On the morning of Monday, January 29, 1979, a group of children line up outside the nearby elementary school, waiting for Principal Burton Ragg to open the gates. Brenda, being in a rather bad mood, set up her Ruger 1022 rifle on the second-story window of her home and aimed it towards the school children, as her house was right across from the school. As Ragg walked out to open the gates, she primed her rifle, took aim, and fired, hitting 9-year-old Cam Miller. Miller dropped to the ground as the confused and scared children began to scramble. Ragg had no idea what was going on, but after another shot was fired and another child fell, Ragg put 2 and 2 together and tried desperately to get the kids behind some sort of cover. But after Brenda saw what he was trying to do, she took aim at him and fired, dropping him dead on the street. 56-year-old custodian Mike Sukar then tried to save the children. While he was trying to pull an injured child to safety, Brenda aimed at him and fired, killing the courageous custodian. The first responding officer, aged 28, was shot in the neck, but was able to relay Brenda's position to other responding officers. They were able to end her reign of terror with a garbage truck that was driven in front of her house. Police and SWAT engaged in an intense standoff that lasted hours. Brenda told negotiators that the children and adults that she fired at were easy targets and that she wanted to come out shooting. A reporter for the San Diego Union Tribune was calling random numbers in the neighborhood, hoping to talk to someone who had witnessed the events. One of the numbers he called turned out to be the Spencer residence, and before he knew it, he was talking to the girl who had carried out this attack. He asked her simply why she did it, to which Brenda gave a very chilling response. "I don't like Mondays, this livens up today." Brenda came out peacefully after the negotiators agreed to take her to Burger King, a rather comedic ending to such a dark morning. A little over a year later, on April 4th, 1980, just one day after her 18th birthday, Brenda was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. She has gone through 7 different parole hearings, all of which have been unsuccessful. As of October of 2025, she remains incarcerated in the California Institution for Women in Chino. She has recently been denied parole this past February of 2025, with her next parole hearing set for 2028. This was the story that frontman Bob Geldorf read in the newspaper that gave him the inspiration for his song, I Don't Like Mondays. Number 9, 1. In 1988, heavy metal giants Metallica released their 4th studio album, And Justice for All. Track 4 on the album, simply titled 1, has gone on to become one of Metallica's most popular songs, no pun intended of course. The song most likely is popular because of its dark lyrical content. The lyrics tell the story of a World War I soldier who was wounded in the war by an artillery shell. The incident left him without arms, legs, eyes, ears, a nose, or a mouth, rendering him unable to speak. His only means of communication are thrashes in his hospital bed. He begs for death but is unable to speak. He resorts to Morse code thrashes, telling nurses to put him out of his misery. The song was inspired by the 1971 film Johnny Got His Gun. Frontman James Hetfield wrote the lyrics and included the song on the album. The music video includes scenes from the movie as well. The lyrics include lines like, "Deep down inside I feel to scream, this terrible silence stops me," and the hook, "Hold my breath as I wish for death, oh please God wake me." Number 8, Timothy. In 1970, American pop rock band The Boys were looking for a way to break into the scene and gain fame. A solution brought up by songwriter Rupert Holmes was to write a song so disturbing that it would get the song purposely banned, so Timothy was created. The theory was that since the song would be banned, the song would be more sought after, making the band more popular in the process. The song tells the story of 3 miners who were trapped by a cave-in: Joe, the narrator, and the titular Timothy. Although when the miners are saved, only Joe and the narrator make it out, as stated in the first verse. When they broke through to pull us free, the only ones left to tell the tale were Joe and me. The song goes on to give us other hints such as, hungry as hell, no food to eat, and Joe said he would sell his soul for just a piece of meat. The song finally drops the bombshell on us by the end when it says, my stomach was full as it could be, and nobody ever got around to finding Timothy. By the end of the song, the message is implied that the 2 miners couldn't handle the hunger anymore, so they killed and ate Timothy. Due to no promotion, the song only had little success. However, it was after young listeners started to get their hands on the song when they were able to deduce the fate of Timothy. Listeners continuously called radio stations and asked for the song to be played. As it got played more and more, radio stations started to catch wind of the dark lyrical content and started to ban the song. The record began racking up sales just from people buying it to read the lyric sheet. The song slowly began to climb up the Billboard charts, peaking at number 17. The band was signed to a record deal but ultimately fell through after the band couldn't figure out how to recreate something like Timothy. The song has mostly become forgotten. However, it still has a small cult following that still remember the song for its dark nature at such a sudden time. Number 7. Do You Know Where Your Children Are? Released more recently in 2014, Michael Jackson's second posthumous record, Escape, was released to much fanfare, but included on the album was a track unlike the rest of them. A 4.5-minute song titled Do You Know Where Your Children Are? A song that is very much different than the rest of them. The song tells the story of a 12-year-old girl who is mentally and sexually abused by her stepfather. Feeling a need to get away, she runs to Hollywood to sell her body, which ends up getting her arrested. The song was originally recorded during the recording sessions for Michael's 7th album, Bad. For whatever reason, the song was not featured on the album, although it definitely would have made the album much different. Despite the song being about a young girl, given Jackson's allegations of his own sexual assault upon younger children, the song has brought its own controversy. Jackson was credited as being the only songwriter, as he wrote in a letter that was later discovered by his estate. It is about kids being raised in a broken family where the father comes home drunk and the mother is out prostituting, and the kids run away from home and they become victims of rape, prostitution, and the hunter becomes the hunted. So they are out on the street. Do you know where your children are? It's 12 o'clock. They are somewhere out on the street. Just imagine how scared they are. It's about the runaway problems we have in America. Number 6, Maniac. In 1983, romantic drama dance film Flashdance was released into theaters. Starring Jennifer Beals, the film follows the story of Alex Owens, a steel mill worker who also works as a strip dancer. Despite this, she dreams of being an actual dancer. One of the songs featured in the movie has gone on to become a staple of 1980s music. The song Maniac, written by Michael Sambello, is an upbeat tune about a girl who has a passion for dancing, similar to the movie. Although being an upbeat song, the song was originally written to be darker than what it came out to be. When you think of a song about a girl who is in love with dancing, you don't expect the song to be called Maniac. While Sambello originally planned the song to be written about an actual maniac, a serial killer. The hook of the song reads, "She's a maniac, on the floor, and she's dancing like she's never danced before." The original lyrics that were thought of by Sambello came to him when he was watching a news report about a serial killer. The lyrics, "He's a maniac, he just moved in next door, he'll kill your cat and nail it to your door," came to him. However, after the song was discovered by Phil Ramone, the lyrics were changed to what it is now today. It is unknown where the original song is or what the rest of the original lyrics were. Number 5, Riders on the Storm. In April of 1971, American rock legends The Doors released their 6th album titled LA Woman. The album spent 36 weeks on the Billboard Top 200, peaking at number 9. This album was significant as this was the final album from lead singer Jim Morrison, as 3 months after the album's release, Morrison would be found dead. The final song on the album, titled Riders on the Storm, is a 7-minute piece, the second longest on the album. The song tells the story of a hitchhiker that is picked up by a family who then goes on to massacre them. The line, "If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die," implies that the man ended up killing the whole family. This song is directly inspired by the murders of the Moser family at the hands of Billy Cook. On December 30th, 1950, Billy Cook was driving a car that he had previously stolen when it ran out of gas near Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's when he thought to pose as a hitchhiker. He had posed as a hitchhiker to steal the car in the first place, and now he was going to do it again. This time, the car that he was picked up in was that of the Moser family, parents Carl and Thelma, and their 3 children, Ronald Dean, Gary Carl, and Pamela Sue, as well as their dog. Carl, not wanting to pass up doing a good deed, picked up Cook and was instantly taken aback by a snub-nosed .32 caliber revolver that Cook pulled out, taking the family hostage. For the next 72 hours, Cook forced Carl to drive him around and would pose as the family's oldest child at gas stations. At one point, Carl almost overpowered Billy at a gas station in Wichita Falls, but Billy was able to regain control. Shortly after leaving said gas station, Billy Cook executed the Moser children before turning the gun on their parents. Even the dog wasn't spared. Cook stole the car and dumped the bodies in an abandoned mine shaft in Joplin, Missouri before heading back to California. He abandoned the Moser car in Oklahoma, which was found with bullet holes and was caked in the Moser family's blood, as well as a receipt for Cook's gun. After getting across the border, Cook was recognized by Santa Rosalisa Police Chief Luis Parra, who promptly arrested him. Cook was extradited back into the US and went back to Oklahoma City for the trial. In the end, Billy Cook was sentenced to a whopping 300 years in prison. However, a California jury was able to convict Cook on the murder of Robert Dewey, a salesman from Seattle that Cook had killed after the Moser family. Ultimately, Billy Cook was sentenced to death and sat on California's death row until December 12, 1952, when he was executed in the gas chamber at San Quentin Prison. After being arrested by Parra, Billy Cook said, "I hate everybody's guts. and everybody hates mine. Number 4. Gloomy Sunday. In 1933, Hungarian pianist and composer Rezo Serez and poet Laszlo Javor published a song titled Vége a Viennak, The World is Ending. However, the song is most known by a different name, Samora Vasharnap, Gloomy Sunday. The song was written during the Great Depression after World War I and during a time in which there was increased fascist presence in Serez's home country of Hungary. Serez had trouble finding a publisher for the song due to its very sad and dark content. One publisher even said, "It is not that the song is sad, there is a sort of terrible compelling despair about it. I don't think it would do any good to hear a song like that." The lyrics start with, "Gloomiest Sunday, my hours are slumberless. Dearest, the shadows I live with are numberless." The lyrics continue in the second verse, "Gloomiest Sunday, with shadows I spend it all. My heart and I have decided to end it all." The song was linked to a few suicides after the song's release. In 1936, Philip Cook, a senior at a college in New York, was found dead in his fraternity house. Shortly before his death, Cook had been telling his friends that he was listening to the song. Another man, Gene Burroughs, walked into the cafe The Green Frog and sat down. Broken and depressed, he started to sing along to Gloomy Sunday that was being performed in the cafe. As he reached for a gun, Burroughs then shot himself in the heart as the song ended. The manager at the cafe yelled at the band, saying, "Fools, don't play that. Don't ever play that accursed thing again," and then ordered 2 waitresses to carry the body out back. Another person, Miles Olga Karakis, a singer at a local theater, performed Gloomy Sunday to a silent crowd. By the time she was finished, she had tears in her eyes. She stormed to her dressing room and locked herself inside. After her manager broke down the door, he discovered that Miles had taken poison. Afterwards, the song began to be suppressed in Hungary. The United States saw this as a hot publicity item and rushed out a translated version, penned as the Hungarian suicide song. This resulted in a cover by jazz singer Billie Holiday, released in 1941. The song ended up being banned by the BBC radio for being detrimental to wartime morale. However, instrumental versions were still allowed. The ban was eventually lifted in 2002. 35 years after the song was published, the composer Rezo Serez committed suicide himself by throwing himself out of his apartment window. He survived but choked himself with a wire at the hospital. After he was unable to find success after Gloomy Sunday, he found that the song had brought him nothing but misery and sorrow. Gloomy Sunday has mostly become forgotten, but has seen small bouts of interest come through the years. Number 3. The Kids Aren't Alright. Punk rock band The Offspring released their 5th studio album, Americana, in 1998. The album debuted at number 6 on the Billboard Top 200, peaking at number 2. Track 5, titled The Kids Aren't Alright, is another punk rock track, but the lyrical content is pretty dark. The song, despite being upbeat, is a song about the passage of time and how things change for the worse as time moves on. Frontman Dexter Holland wrote the song after visiting his childhood neighborhood of Garden Grove, California. The song starts off with, "When we were young, the future was so bright. The whole neighborhood was so alive." The song then takes a turn at the second half of the first verse. "Now the neighborhood's cracked and torn. The kids are grown up, but their lives are worn." After the hook, the second verse goes on to explain how each child fell apart. Jamie had a chance, well, she really did. Instead, she dropped out and had a couple of kids. Mark still lives at home because he's got no job. He just plays guitar and smokes a lot of pot. Jay committed suicide. Brandon OD'd and died. What the hell is going on? The song makes a point about how despite the youth growing up in America, which is supposed to be the island of opportunity, some kids can fall through the cracks along the way and end up in poverty with teen pregnancy, drug use, and suicide. After seeing his neighborhood in ruins, Holland said, You grow up in America and you're supposed to have a bright future. Number 2, Hamburger Lady. In 1978, industrial noise band Throbbing Gristle released their second album, DOA, the third and final report of Throbbing Gristle. Included on the album is track 7, chillingly titled Hamburger Lady. The song is inspired by a letter that frontwoman Genesis P. Orridge had received from a male artist named Al Blaster Ackerman. The letter told the story of a woman who was an extreme burn victim from a car accident. The accident left her in a vegetative state, but it was what happened to her skin is what gave her the name. The burn was so severe that it gave it a rubbery, meaty look like cooked hamburger meat. The lyrics of the song includes lines from said letter. She's dying, she is burned from the waist up. On her arm, her ear is burned, her eyelashes are burned. She can't hold things up, and even with medical advances, there's no end in sight for Hamburger Lady. Some have gone on to say that Hamburger Lady is the scariest song ever recorded. A video exists of a bunch of images with the Hamburger Lady song playing with metal scraping sounds. Some were made to believe that the video originated from the deep web, however the video is none more than a tribute to Throbbing Gristle. The Hamburger Lady is a disturbing song, but is definitely not what people make it out to be. Number 1, Hey Man Nice Shot. Capping off the list is a single from the American industrial rock band Filter. Filter is a sort of spin-off to the more successful Nine Inch Nails, since member Richard Patrick had played guitar for Nine Inch Nails. The song Hey Man Nice Shot is the first track off their debut album, Short Bus. The album went platinum mostly due to that song, which has become one of their most well-known songs. A popular and at the time controversial rumor was that the song was about the suicide of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain. It was after that rumor spread that Patrick had to clear the air and reveal that the song was not about the suicide of Cobain, but was about a different suicide entirely, which was that of R. Bud Dwyer, a former Pennsylvania treasurer. In December of 1986, Dwyer was indicted on bribery charges and was expected to be sentenced for a lengthy amount of time. Dwyer protested his innocence, even suggesting that he take a lie detector test on the one condition that if he passed, he would not be convicted. He also slanderously protested that everyone around him and even the US government were engaging in a conspiracy against him. On January 26, 1987, Dwyer called an emergency press conference. Many took this as Dwyer confessing to the charges and announcing his resignation. However, something very much different happened. Dwyer continued to proclaim his innocence before producing a manila folder and pulling a Model 19 .357 Magnum revolver from it. The mood switched to panic and uneasiness as the press were unsure whether Dwyer was going to turn the gun on them or not. However, it became clear that Dwyer was not going to do that. Dwyer told people to leave the room if they did not want to watch, and after people tried to disarm him, he told them not to. Dwyer then put the gun to the roof of his mouth and fired. The shocking incident, the before and after, were all caught on live television. There are many videos that have the moments up until Dwyer pulls the trigger. However, there exist videos of when Dwyer pulls the trigger, the before, during, and after. I suggest not looking for them for your own sake, but if you really want to, be my guest. But I digress. Some radio stations opted to ban the song entirely because of Patrick making a joke out of someone else's death. And when someone does that, it's bound to stir up some controversy.